What's up guys, so today I'm going to change the radius arm bushings on my truck. Here's the radius arm bushing, and the problem that I've got on the truck is that the inside bushing way up here, you can't see it, but the bushing has a big old split down the middle, so that's why I'm going to be installing some new ones. To get started, I've already got the truck up on jack stands, jacked it up, and I've got some wheel chocks on the back so it doesn't move. I took off the wheel, so there's 5 19mm lug nuts right there. And then down here, I'm lucky enough to where on the bracket I actually have bolts. So I'm going to remove these bolts and the cross braces, so I could drop this whole piece down and push this forward so I can just change out the bushings. On some of these trucks you have these things riveted on and you can't take them off, so then you'd have to come over here, take off the brakes and everything, take off the shock, so then you can lower this entire piece down and then push it out, because this is going to be solid. So like I said before, I have bolts, so I can literally take this off and move it instead of taking this off and moving it that way. So right here's the radius arm and the bushing. I'm going to take off these 3 bolts, these 2 down here and this one on top for the bracket. If you look over here, I already moved this one, but there's this one too. And then looking down this way on the cross member, there's those 4. So this is the order for everything coming up on the inside. We've got the nut, the washer, the bushing. It was kind of pinched. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Turns out what was broken was this spacer. So I removed this bolt from the stabilizer bar. Over here, I removed this bolt from the shock, and I'm taking off this bolt so I could remove the nut right here, so I can remove the shock as well. Okay, so I removed these 4 bolts. Each one of them is different for some reason. I got them all down there in the order that they came out of. Once those 4 are out, this part of the cross member is separated, and you can slide it back and forth. And then I put a jack right here under the hub on the radius arm, so I could push it that way and hopefully get this out. After messing with this crap for a while, I think it's just going to be easier if we remove both sides together. You can pull them back out this way and down as one, and it should slide off. On the driver's side, the fuel filter is going to be in the way, so you need to pop out the fuel filter, and then right here on the fuel filter bracket, it's got this bolt up here with the nut on the opposite side. So go ahead and take off that nut. Once you got that off, this bracket should be able to come off, and you can hold this bolt while you take off the nut on the other side as well. With both the driver's side and the passenger side brackets loose, you can grab onto it now and just pull it off on both sides. So right in the inside, you got this little metal washer, and the bushing, and then another metal washer on the back. With the inside bushings back in place, now you can go ahead and put the bracing back on, the cross member. Just pop it back on and just reverse the process. So after reversing the process, of course, here's the brand new bushings installed, and worked out perfectly. When you're putting these back together, make sure to get these two on there first and then work them all the way in so all the other holes line up. And then once you got these two, then put the bolts in first. Once you got the bolts in, then you can put in the little thing on the back that it holds onto. It was kind of hard to fit the bushing in on this side because it wanted to sit flush and I didn't have enough space to put the nut back in. What I ended up doing was putting the jack right here on the radius arm, and then I lifted the arm up, and then that gave me enough play in here to push this in. I kicked the rotor this way so I could fit the arm through here, and then put the bushings in, and then I just barely had enough room to put the nut on. Once I got like one thread on, then I just put the 1 1/8 socket on there and then started tightening it up. So earlier on in the video I talked about how you could do it if these were rivets, and that's why I went ahead and took off the shock and the stabilizer bar. But you wouldn't have to do that in my situation. It worked out just fine. On this side I took it off, on the other side I left it intact, and I was able to do that side just fine because these are bolts. But if you do have rivets on here, you will have to remove the shock, and then that'll drop the coil. And just make sure that you don't hang everything off of that brake line. So what you would want to do is either take off the caliper and then hold it off over there and let this drop, or keep a jack right under here, and then that way once you release the shock, this is the only thing that's holding it on after you take off the stabilizer bar. Once you release the shock, this will drop and drop onto your jack, and you don't mess up the brake line. So there you go, that's another project done on the Ranger. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you guys later.